Assalamu alaikum. This is your computer science teacher, Sir Fawad Akhtar Ansari, and today I'm going to make a function with a different perspective. Actually, different students ask me that what if we return a value into the main program and we can use this value in the other part of the program. So how do we make that kind of program and how the function will work? So I designed a question and I will show you the solution as well. So the question is, write a program in your chosen high level language to input length and width of a rectangle, then write a function to calculate area of a rectangle, and then output. Simple thing, input length and width, then make a function to calculate the area of rectangle, then output. After that, it says determine if the area exceeds a threshold of 50 square units and print an appropriate message. We will discuss it later on. If the cost is $20 per square unit, calculate the total cost and display it. So determine if the area exceeds size or our requirement. So we will display the message, and we will calculate the cost if the cost is $20 per square unit. So we will discuss it later on as well. Let's first build the structure. First we input the length and width of a rectangle, then we write a function to calculate. I already made some initialization, like I already made a main program. In the main program I took the length as an input and then I took the width as an input. Now I made a function and my function name is area of rectangle. This is my function name and my parameters are input length and input width. So when my main program pass the values to the parameter, so the length will store in the input length and the width will store into the input width parameter. Now next step is to multiply the parameters. So let's do this step. I just copy and pasted the parameters name, and instead of the comma I use asterisk sign for the multiplication. Now this is okay, now we are done with the function. Our function is just a small function to calculate the area of a rectangle. Now we are going to the main program. So now I'm going to call my function. So my function name is, I'm copying the name of the function with the parameter. Now it's time to change the parameter, like for the length I take my variable back, and here. Okay, so this is my function name and I changed the parameter names with my variable names, because these variable names will assign the values or pass the values to the parameters, and then it will return into the main program and pass the values. Okay, now next thing is I am storing this function name into a variable and I take my variable name area. So my entire function is stored in the variable area. The reason is when I need to call my function, so instead copy and pasting the entire function code or calling this huge name again and again, I am getting rid of this first. So I am storing my function name into this variable. So now next step is display the area. Okay, now I am giving some spaces so you can read the code easily, otherwise no spaces needed. You may remove the spaces if you want. Okay, now next step is to output the area of rectangle. So now I'm going to output the area. Print area of a rectangle is and comma area. Now we are done with the initial three stages. we are done with these three steps. Now next is determine if the area exceeds the threshold of 50 square units and print an appropriate message, and then if the cost is $20. Okay, so first work with this condition. So how do we make this condition? If the area exceeds a threshold of 50 square units, so how do we deal with this condition? Now the main point of the code is we returned the calculation to the main program. I hope you understood. We returned the calculation in the main program. So this is the name of the function is stored in the area variable. I am repeating my statement because there are some students whose pickup is slow, so they understand each and everything easily. So that is why I used to repeat my statements. Mostly students say that, sir, why do you repeat again and again? So the reason is that every kind of students are watching my videos. So there are the students who are slow learners, so when I keep reminding them that we are doing this and that, then they just used to start understanding the concept. So that is why I used to repeat the statements. So the return means that we are returning the calculation into the main program. Now it is returned into the main program, and the entire function I am storing in the area. So when we return the value to the main program, we can use the same value into the other parts of the program. This is what the return concept is. If we do not return the value, so our value will be inside the function only, right? Our value will be inside the function only. It cannot be utilized outside the function. But in the question, this is a requirement that we return the value to the main program, and then then we can utilize it. So now we are returning the calculation into the main program, so we can use it with the other parts of the program. So the other part is, if area is greater than 50, then now why I choose the area? This is a variable, and inside the variable the function is stored. When our program will go to the function, it will do the calculation. Pretty simple, right? So if the area is greater than 50, then print it is large. Else print it is, for example, manageable. If we check the question, so it says that determine if the A exceeds a threshold of 50 square units and print appropriate message. So that is why we are doing this. So now next thing in the question is, we have done this part, right? Now next question, if the cost is $20 per square unit. So if the cost is, so first I take a variable cost and $20 per unit, right? So I am initializing the variable and I am assigning a value 20 into the variable cost. Now next step is, okay, so let the variable more clear, cost per square unit. So cost underscore per unit, this is my variable name. The reason of choosing this variable is, you will understand why. I multiply area with this variable. I multiply area with this variable, and then I store it in the variable cost. So that is why I replaced with the cost per unit area, so I can easily calculate the cost. Now it's time to check the question again. Display it now. Cost, display it. Let me okay, so I do not make a question lengthy, so let's make it the cost is The cost is 20 per unit. Okay, the cost is $20 per unit. I remove the if statement because the program will go into the unnecessary details, so I just want to give you a concept. That is why I changed the scenario in the last. So the cost is or I say total cost is, and then comma cost. So this is our program. Now I am removing unnecessary lines. Okay, wait, before removing the lines, let's revise the code. We took the two user inputs and then we created a function, and then we perform the calculation and return it to the main program. Now once it is returned to the main program, we stored it in the variable area. After that we displayed it. Then the other part of the program is if area is above 50 for the threshold, so it displays an appropriate message. It is large, otherwise it is manageable. Then we calculated the cost. So cost per unit is 20 and the total cost is this. Now it's time to test the code. Okay, so for example I input 23. Let's start with the small number 5 and then 4. So the area of rectangle is 20 and it is manageable, and total cost is 400. Okay, instead of the manageable, for example I can say that it is affordable. So you may type appropriate prompt as per your requirement. Now let's suppose if length is 12 and the width is 6, so total cost is okay above 50. It is large, cost is okay. So now let's make the small value 5 and 8, so it is affordable. So I hope you understand the concept. The entire solution just give you a concept, so you may modify the code. Remember, there are many versions of the same code on the internet, but I'm just giving you the juice of the concept, the juice of the content. So you may edit the code, you may modify the code, you may add your own logic as well, you may make with the validation checks as well. So I hope you understood the concept of returning the value to the main program. So that is why we return the value to the main program, so we can utilize it in the other part of the program. This is a benefit of returning. If I do not return, so our values will stick inside the function, we cannot use outside the function. So just wind up video here. Thank you so much attending the class. Take care. Allah Hafiz. He's breaking the rules. Mr. Akhtar, the guru of computer science. He's the one who got us through like a reliant from O levels exams to acing every test. We're learning from the best. He's the very best.